What up, my channel? Welcome back to another video. I'm Jessie, and you are watching. What's up, cuties? I am so excited to be bringing to y'all another video in my reading 1-star reviews series. This is a series where I pick a book and I read 1-star reviews of it on Goodreads. I talk about the criticisms, there's a lot of messiness, there's a lot of dragging, and I'm really excited because the book that we are going to be reading 1-star reviews for today is none other than The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. But before the drag fest can begin, I want to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is none other than Star Chef 2. Star Chef 2 is a free, easy to download, casual cooking simulation game. It's one of the most satisfying games I've ever played. Not only is it incredibly easy to use, but you get to cook and serve up cuisine from all around the world, grow your own veggies, and just have fun and play around in the kitchen. One of my favorite things about this game, though, is that you can also create your own restaurant amusement park, which is like literally my freaking dream. Like, the best thing about going to an amusement park is always the food. While you are in pursuit of magic ingredients for your restaurant, you get to visit some of the world's most gorgeous places, such as Hawaii, all the while taking your virtual restaurant, building it from the ground up, and turning it from a humble diner into the restaurant of your dreams. You can chat with your buddies, indulge in PvPs, as well as tournaments. Honestly, this game has a bunch of additional features, like you're never ever going to get bored with it, but my personal favorite is the Halloween theme. You get to go trick-or-treating in a haunted graveyard while you solve mysteries. Download Star Chef 2 by using the link in my description, and there is an exclusive in-game offer waiting for you. Thanks again to Star Chef 2 for sponsoring this video, and without further ado, let's get into the 1-star reviews. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo has 137,501 reviews on Goodreads and ratings that are over the millions. 1,229,908 ratings to be exact. And the average rating for this book is 4.48, which is insane. Out of all of that, there's only 7,618 1-star reviews, so let's go through them and see what people have had to say. Oh my god, worst read of decade, 2011 to 2020, glucose gluttony.
Oh my god, this is so dramatic.
As Abe Lincoln observed, not Abe Lincoln, for those who like this kind of book, it is just about the kind of book they would like. Wow, that was awful. The content of the supermarket tabloid variety, and the writer lacks all subtlety and grace. She might as well have beaten you over the head with a mallet.
What?
Oh my god, we're starting off hot with sexism. Yum, my favorite meal of the day. 1 star. I knew I was in for it from the very beginning when I read the dedication page of this book. It reads as follows: "Smash the patriarchy, sweetheart. Oh good god, eye roll. Give me a break." Tell me you hate women without telling me you hate women. I would like to call this book review The 7 Rants of Evelyn Hugo and Friends. Aw, you really thought that was funny. Evelyn Hugo is the most immoral character I read about in my life. That's kind of the point. What kind of message is the author sending to young women with the character? Lie, cheat, scheme your way into getting anything you want, regardless of who it hurts or the damage your actions can cause. Only focus on yourself, your own desires, your own pleasures, and to hell with the rest of it. Where's the self-respect in spreading your Where's the dignity in bending? Oh yeah, as long as it's in the name of woman power, silly me. Monique annoyed the hell out of me. The attempt made by the author for her personal life and some of Evelyn's personal life to run in parallels was basically spoon-fed to the reader. Do agree with that. She felt like a super underdeveloped character. She was, with barely any social skills from the way she talked to Evelyn. I mean, I had secondhand embarrassment for this character. And honestly, that is such a valid critique because I said this in my video where I talked about my issues with the book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Monique's character was sorely underdeveloped. It was embarrassing. I've never seen character work neglected so poorly. None of Monique's issues besides the death of her dad were all that shocking and relatable. Dang, Monique, you just had one of the richest women in the world ask you to write her life story knowing you will make millions and millions off it, and you're over here acting like you were asked to eat 3 bags of sand. I'm fucking crying. To be fair, the only thing that I really liked about Monique was the fact that she was skeptical about why this multi-millionaire woman wants her to take down her story. Like, wouldn't you have questions? I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck how much money you are. If I'm gonna be walking into your home and you have notoriously not given interviews to anybody, but now all of a sudden you want to tell me, specifically me, your life story, I'm gonna have some fucking questions. I could be completely wrong. This is what happens when you make assumptions. You make an ass out of you and me. But I'm gonna bet money that this person is white, because that's giving white people in horror shit. Only in a white horror movie would someone see that and be like,
yeah, let's walk into that mansion. Surely good things are gonna come out of it.
that's literally what The Ballad of Black Tom is about. A black male author saying, yo, this is what happens when you walk into wealthy white people's homes without asking any questions. Smells like clay. I literally laughed out loud at the sheer stupidity of the way Evelyn described Celia coming out of the shower. This is not verbatim. She didn't smell like shampoo. She smelled like clay. Clay, come again. The abortion. Look, I'm going to be frank in saying I think abortion is wrong in so many levels for a multitude of reasons, but the way the book handled abortion and how grossly irresponsible Evelyn was in her sexual relations is something I find truly deplorable. Where is humanity going? I'm asking myself that as I read your review. Evelyn literally says she crosses her fingers as she is screwing this guy and hopes for the best. And now we have a review from Monty, which I'm so excited about. This book has made me feel things no other book ever has. I don't think I've ever had as immediate a reaction as I did to reading this book. I knew going into the book that Evelyn Hugo was a Latinx character. It wasn't until I started reading, though, that I discovered our other narrator, Monique, was also a woman of color. Don't call her black, though. She's biracial. I'm fucking crying. This is funny because she does make a very big point in the actual text to specify, like, I'm not black, I'm biracial. Almost immediately uncomfortable with this idea. That said, I carried on thinking I was probably just stretching, reaching for things that weren't there. The narrative utterly fails at the nuance necessary to tell the story of a Cuban American finding success in the 50s. It's really only brought up at the beginning when she's initially denied roles, and Evelyn immediately pivots into this racially ambiguous spicy white category that doesn't stop her from being mad that her maid doesn't know that she's Cuban, even though she's actively tried to suppress that side of her for decades. I won't even get into how the narrative makes Evelyn retiring to Spain to make tortillas her connecting with her roots, or how Monique actively distances herself from blackness while never questioning the impact that being raised by a single white mother following the death of her black father might have any role in that. You mean to tell me that she has memories of her father but not his family? That the first black person she met was a girl in elementary school? Okay. Side note, Evelyn just randomly dropping that she supported civil rights and MLK Jr. towards the end of the book felt totally out of place, and while not a big deal, the part of the book felt very disconnected from what was going on. Okay, guys, remember in my video where I was talking about things that I didn't like about Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing, I was talking about Malibu Rising and how there's a very jarring line about white privilege towards the end of the book that made absolutely no sense. The whole book was like celebrating this glitzy, glamorous lifestyle of these like white wealthy characters, and then all of a sudden there's a line speaking up against white privilege, and I was just like, this review sums up a lot of my issues with the book. I had been led to believe that The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo was a work of serious fiction, taking a look at celebrity, aging relationships, sexuality, and race politics of old Hollywood, and so on. Maybe it could have been in the hands of a different author. Taylor Jenkins Reid lacks both a historical imagination and the skill to imbue emotional gravitas. As a result, the book is heavy-handed and cheesy. Okay, like, I don't care who you are, it is a heavy-handed book. Like, it is heavy-handed. Reid chooses to spend 3 paragraphs explaining a character's actions, while the intent or meaning of those actions are perfectly clear to the reader. Every time a character opens their mouth to discuss queer issues, I cringe because it seems more like a 6th grader's report for history class than anything someone would have said if they were living in the midst of it. There are scattered nuggets of wisdom that I can't take any more seriously than a live, laugh, love wall decal. Because they sound just like wall decals. Decal? The writing generally annoyed me on a sentence-to-sentence level. At one point, a handsome, young, healthy athlete is described as looking as an all-American as a husk of corn. Not an ear of corn, mind you, the husk. That is the dry, papery part, mostly seen in metaphors to describe an elderly person's skin. And the book's just not that deep. I don't understand why everyone seems to think it is. I'm fucking crying. 15 years and an inevitable miniseries later, Evelyn Hugo will probably come to be regarded the way we regard The Valley of the Dolls, seriously discussed upon its release and remembered strictly for camp value. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you should just delete your Goodreads. I was so disappointed in this. Started with a good premise, but by the end had devolved into persuasive essays on modern political hot button topics. God forbid. There were a lot of unbelievable scenarios. Some of the marriages seemed forced to provide a theme of lots of marriages. The events of the twist didn't really make sense. An 80-year-old using all contemporary and politically correct phrasing. Also too much descriptive sex. She has nice breasts, we get it.
Wow, where do we start?
Let's first talk about the fact that this person is upset that the book, which is historical fiction, where we're following a woman from the 50s as she ages, gets more modern and talks about political topics. Well, yeah, the book is becoming progressively more modern.
What?
Unbelievable scenarios. Some of the marriages seem forced to provide a theme of lots of marriages. The events of the twist didn't really make sense. An 80-year-old using all contemporary and politically correct phrasing. Have you met modern 80-year-old celebrities? Jane Fonda uses more slang than I do. What? I hate this idea that just because somebody is old means that they automatically are still living in the 1950s. Hell yeah, that's true for a lot of elders. Hey, it's true for a lot of young people too, but that's not all of our elders. So the idea that there is an 80-year-old person who speaks with politically correct phrasing, which really is just a synonym for correct phrasing, is disturbing. Why are you offended that grandma isn't saying the N-word? Also too much descriptive sex. She has nice breasts, we get it. Tell me you hate human rights without telling me you hate human rights. I liked some parts of Evelyn's life, but I don't think this book is worth the read. The writing is too simple and juvenile. The dialogues and characters' inner thoughts are laughable. I thought this was her debut novel, but apparently not. This was poorly executed. Honestly, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I don't understand why people will point to this book for its fantastic writing. The writing is not great. It really isn't. Especially as far as historical fiction writing goes. Don't get me wrong, when I read the book, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. But the writing, this is the third comment. I'm not going to put it on the screen because this person used a derogatory word for breasts, but they say Evelyn's breasts, which I'm using a synonym. Evelyn's breasts. Okay, we get it. They're great. Why are so many people upset about Evelyn's chest? Also from the same commenter. Some random thoughts. I love the fact that you've got absolutely no ass on you, said no man ever. And then this person goes on to say that they're annoyed with like how much Evelyn's breasts are being centered in the book. Honestly, a lot of these comments critiquing the book are incredibly sexist. Incredibly sexist. And not all of them are for men, so wow, I just can't imagine hating women that much. Main romance was toxic and dysfunctional. That's why we enjoyed it. I wanted to like it so badly, but I was turned off once I found out that the author is white, but the main character is a person of color. I don't like when white authors try to write characters who are not white. Personally, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but I've said it before and I will say it again. Taylor Jenkins Reid, at this point in her career, is not an author who should be writing characters of color because she does not do it with the amount of nuance and respect that characters of color deserve. And if you want more details on that, watch my critique of Evelyn Hugo. This is touted as some kind of feminist dream novel, but it read very second wave white feminist to me. Disappointed that this lives nowhere near the hype for me. I'm fucking crying. This book was poorly written, kind of like Wattpad fiction. Monique is not like other girls. She writes about hipster Brooklynites while living in New York. She probably has a Substack. What's a Substack? She'd probably be one of my least favorite types of leftists on Twitter. What is it about like conservative folk dragging this book that is so interesting? I was not expecting so many people to be reading this book who like very clearly don't like women. It's very odd. That's really interesting. This person did find the comment that made me one of the comments in the book that made me uncomfortable. I was trying to cite it in my Evelyn Hugo discussion video, but I couldn't find it and I wasn't bothered. The comment was, as a biracial woman myself, light brown skin with dark brown eyes courtesy of my black father and an abundance of face freckles courtesy of my white mother. Okay, and so then this person goes through and quotes 1, 2, 3, like literally takes the time to, damn, you got a lot of time on your hands. This is how many quotes that she cited about the mentions of Evelyn Hugo's chest. And so I'm very curious, did you like go through after you read the book and highlight so that you could type all this up? Did you type it up as you were reading? Inquiring minds want to know. For those of you who read the book and do identify as feminists, Were you uncomfortable with how often Evelyn Hugo's chest was emphasized in the book? Because personally, I was not, but maybe there is something problematic there that I just wasn't catching. Evelyn Hugo is, well, she's Doris Duke, basically. No, she's knockoff Rita Hayworth. This person says the author should be forced to donate all the proceeds of this to an LGBT charity for all that carrying on and tokenism. Gays, stay away. This is a ridiculous book for straight people. It has some very annoying queer tropes, and it almost completely brushes over the AIDS crisis, which is ridiculous for a queer story set in that time. Eat the rich and read Girl, Woman, Other instead. I have some thoughts about this comment. Number one, I think that it is concerning. I think that it is concerning to assume that Taylor Jenkins Reid is heterosexual. To my knowledge, she has never come out and said that she is heterosexual, and we want to make sure that we are not forcing people out of the closet, or rather just forcing people to talk about their sexuality when they clearly made a point not to. That being said, if you are a queer person who are like, yeah, I prefer to only read books that have queer representation by authors who are out as queer or outspoken as being queer, I suppose you have the right to do that, but then you should do your own research going into the book. You know what I'm saying? If that is a boundary that you set for yourself. That being said, I also do think that the point about how the book glosses over the AIDS crisis is very, very important. That is not something that I thought of. So wonderful. Then for those of you who do know more about TJR than I do, has she come out and spoken about her sexuality? And please do not bring up the fact that she's married to a man, because we're not doing biphobia in this house. I'm crying. 1.5 stars. Thank God this is over. This was so bad. I'm actually angry I picked this up. God knows why everyone seems to love it. This book is nothing but a recollection of dysfunctional, toxic, and abusive relationships. And if I ever have to hear someone call sex making love again, I will puke, not just gag. I feel like that's a really common phrase still. I guess the bisexuality rep was okay, but some scenes were just so, how do I incorporate prejudices against bisexuals so I can copy and paste a statement I've seen online? Which brings me to my next point. Oh my god, I always call her Cecilia, and her name is Celia. What the fuck? Celia St. James was a biphobic, freaking annoying character. Her constant whining about Evelyn having been with guys, even when Evelyn told her that she loved her and didn't desire anyone else, not on Evelyn or her sexuality. Though, okay, so this is something, I need to do a reread of this book, but from what I can remember, didn't Celia come around and address the fact that she had been biphobic? Which was like a part of why they were able to live happily for so many years? Or did she just never apologize for that shit? I can't figure out why people think she was such a strong, powerful woman. She hid who she was from the world in every possible way, from her hair color to her heritage to her sexuality. Plus, the only way she ever moves up in the world is by attaching herself to or by hiding behind men. Plus, it treats the queer community so flippantly it's hard to stomach. Okay, so I have a lot of feelings about this comment. I think that it's a harmful idea to say that if you are not out in your sexuality, if you are choosing to pass as white, etc., those kinds of things, that you are not a strong person. Because you have to understand that being visible in those ways, especially in the era that Evelyn Hugo was living in, could mean death. It could mean unspeakable violence, and whether or not you are public about those elements of yourself, they are always who you are. You always move throughout the world with those elements, whether people see them, acknowledge them or not. They are an inseparable part of you. And so to imply that hiding those things or not being out about those things makes you weak is very, very problematic. Now, that being said, I can see why a lot of people didn't enjoy the queer representation, whether or not Taylor Jenkins Reid is queer herself, specifically the way that a Black queer man was treated in this story. That does make a lot of sense to me, but I don't know if that's what this person was specifically saying. I honestly don't think it was. After this and Verity, I will not be taking any more book recommendations from TikTok. I read this one a while back and thought I had reviewed it. The book was fun at the beginning. I liked the writing and thought I was in for a kind of Breakfast at Tiffany with an aging starlet. Instead, the book turned preachy with a lot of 21st century postmodernism quirks. I was looking for something sexy, edgy, and raw. Instead, I got something that was ridiculously race-conscious with feminist and LGBT elements. I wish we could go back to the day where books weren't political. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Did you think that books written by your white male favorites weren't political? I think what you meant to say here was I wish I could go back to the day where Black, queer, and feminist characters weren't on the page. They live in this woke culture bubble where everything is either black and white or where reality is denied. There's not a single original thought. Why did this turn into an essay on all the ways that the world has wronged you personally?
This has nothing to do with the book, sweetheart.
Frankly, I haven't read a single series novel published post-2016 that I have liked. Creativity's dead. Social justice replaced it. Is this person okay? And then someone comments, oh my god, I just fucking cannot. Okay, the sexism, it's actually, okay.
1 hour later. 1 hour later.
Well, that didn't go the way that I thought it was gonna go. If you want to see more of my content that I've made on Taylor Jenkins Reid and the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I will leave the video down below where I talked about how Carrie Soto's premise is problematic. Someone is mowing their lawn, which means it's time to wrap this up. I will also leave the video down below where I talked about my issues with the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Thanks again to Starchef2 for sponsoring this video. If you want more content from me, I do have a Patreon. All my social media links are in the description box below. Stay safe, be good to yourselves, be good to others, and I hope to see you in my next video.